Welcome back to the FBP Intensives, brought to you by ABC Financial. This is a 4-part series where one expert guest presents on one key topic each week for 4 weeks. We're in week 3, so if you missed weeks 1 or 2, then hit pause now and go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and select the tab called Intensive Series, and there you'll find the 2 previous shows. Our first topic for the FBP Intensives is retention, and our special guest is Paul Brown. So far, we've spoken about what matters most when it comes to retention, and then Paul covered trends and traditions. And this week, we explore retention in optional programs. I'm joined once again by our expert guest, Mr. Retention, Paul Brown. Welcome back, Paul.
Hey, thanks, Chantel. It's a delight to be here again.
Now, I know that today you're planning on sharing some of your innovative program ideas to help retain members and non-due program clients, but you're also renowned for making clubs the place to be all year round. So I was hoping today that you could start by summarising some of those must-haves for a quality fitness business.
Absolutely, Chantel. Well, I think everyone in the fitness industry knows the key to retaining your clients is that your club has to be cheap. And when I say cheap, I'm not talking about price. I'm talking about my acronym: convenience, hospitality, environment, affordability, and personal. Let me explain. So with convenience, number one, location rules. Every report you'll read tells you people won't drive past a good club to get to a great club. But if you can't be the closest club, if you are suffering some competition moving in on your neighborhood, look at reciprocity. What that means is try to make sure that you gang up with other clubs so that you're not just selling your one location, you're offering the convenience of your clients being able to train wherever they find themselves on a daily basis. Now, Ursa, way back in the early days with their passport program, did this. Way in 1989, my own club, Busybodies, we had reciprocity with other gyms around Australia. I know that Active Management themselves have a program of reciprocity. And if you don't have one in place, maybe you could join a group or a franchise that does. So, being able to say to somebody, we are your convenient solution. And then there's the convenience of time, the 24-hour access. And that doesn't mean you have to have a complete club 24-hour access. If you can at least say there's a zone in your club that members can swipe a card on a Sunday night at 7 o'clock when you'd rather not have staff there and access, even if it's a smaller area, workout zone that gives them a limited workout, that's going to help a lot. We've done this with several clubs with great success. And what that means is you don't give up the fight for 24-hour access to those other clubs in your neighborhood. Then you look at hospitality. Friendly. Number one, a great hello and a great goodbye. Every time I go to my favorite sushi store, they always not only greet me on the way in, but there's that massive farewell on the way out. Fitness industry could learn a lot from that. Things like knowing people by their name goes a long way. Now, this is a bit cliche, but when you don't have people around in your clubs, they're hard to deliver. Being proactive, the good old sending out a birthday card's a great idea. But even things like a welcome video, maybe you can email an introductory video that you've recorded just on your own little smartphone that tells the people about your club. And so if you can't visit them personally, you do it digitally. And systemize it and be consistent. Whatever you put in place, don't ever fall with your standards. If you offer complimentary towels, better make sure there's always a towel. If Fridays are Fruit Fridays, don't ever forget to get that fruit, because the moment you break an expected pattern, that's when people start to get disappointed. And the final one, what about random acts for kindness? I know in my gym, we used to have our printed T-shirts up on the wall for sale. If someone came in and they forgot their workout attire and they were about to walk out the door, I would rip a shirt off the coat hanger, give it to them free of charge. 9 times out of 10, they came back to thank me and pay me anyway. And if they didn't, guess what? My shirt's walking all over town. Then we talk about the environment. Your club's got to be the classics, clean, well-equipped. But make sure the equipment you choose is to service the clients you want to attract. Part of retaining clients is retaining the clients you want by not attracting the clients you don't want and your members don't want. You know what type of people you need in your club to survive. You know what market you can niche in. Look after those people and don't equip for the ones you don't want. And finally, make sure you've got staffing in the peak hours. There are some business models out there that have really cut back on staffing. And I'm not saying they're not profitable, but you want to retain clients, people are critical. Peak hour service, peak hour support, got to have it. And that means you can now identify who needs the help and who doesn't. Those who don't need help, just be all those other things, hospitable, great facilities, etc. But those who need help, make sure you give it to them, that they become independently loyal to your club. The affordability, therefore, speaks for itself. It's not about price, it's about value. Do people look at what they pay for your membership and ask, why am I paying that? Or do they ask, how do you do it for the price? And finally, it's got to be personal. Yes, the good old know their name. know their friends, make sure their program is personalized for them, not just something off the shelf, and that its ultimate goal is that they feel they can train in your club independently, but they also feel part of a community they would never want to live without.
Thank you so much for that, Paul. Now, you believe that all new clients need to attain a level of independence, and you've got ways to achieve that. So can you share some of those with us?
By all means, look, the fundamental of every individual client is you need to know that they feel comfortable when they come into the club. In my very first talk with our listeners a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about establishing the client's confidence, habit, enjoyment, challenge, knowledge, and social sense in the club. Those 6 things have to be at an all-time high for this client to want to stay in your club. And if any of those are missing, you're in trouble. So the first thing we do is we sit down and we do our goal setting. Good old SMART goals, specific, significant, stretching goals that test the client, measurable goals that are meaningful and motivational, agreeable goals, ones that they're attainable and can achieve, realistic goals and relevant to the lifestyle and the ambitions that they have, and time-bound, so there's some accountability there. Then you need to benchmark. You know what their goals are for where they want to be? You then need to benchmark where they are now, what their mindset is, what their physical condition is, and their emotive responses, how they feel. Because the best thing about our clubs isn't how great our members look, it's how they feel. Then we need to plan. We need to make sure the client has a clear guideline. The good old FITT principle, frequency, intensity, time, and type. Now, all of these things are done in what we call our first personalized profiling session. I insist in the clubs we work with that every individual member gets to sit down with the coach and go through those stages of goal setting, of benchmarking, and planning. And then out of that plan, we design an individual program. Now, the individual program concept doesn't sound that radical in the fitness industry, but we don't just do it once. We have a very specific approach to teaching people what to do to get them started, give them a week to try it, and then come back and perfect it. And it's that comeback, that boost, that's the one that makes the big difference. It's where we perfect our technique, make sure the intensity's bang on, and if there's any exercises inappropriate for the client, they either don't like it or it's aggravating an injury, they've had a week to road test it to find out what's going to work and what's got to be changed. Now, the next stage in our lifestyle is to get the eating habits right out of the club. What do they do in the restaurants? What do they do in the supermarket? What's in their kitchen cupboard right now? So I believe that every client has to have the opportunity to talk to someone and say, what are your current lifestyle choices and can we make them better? We don't do diets, we don't do anything too specific, but we look at the lifestyle habits that people have. And any of our qualified fitness coaches that are properly trained are perfectly positioned to deliver this level of eating habit guidance. The next stage is absolutely critical. It's the results phase. We believe that every member who joins our club should within 4 to 6 weeks see noticeable improvements in the right direction in how they think, how they look, and how they feel. Remember, the best thing about coming to our clubs is not how great you look, it's how great you feel. So there's a massive emphasis on things like having greater energy levels and measuring that, being able to see that they wake up in the morning feeling like they've had a better night's sleep, coping with the stressful situations in life better, feeling happy with when they look in the mirror, with what they see, and finally, their overall self-esteem. These are the things we've learned to benchmark. And then from that, a periodical progression to make sure that their programs don't get stale. See, our bodies need adaptation, they need stimulation, they need to be shocked. And I don't mean shocked to the point of soreness or whether they don't want to come back. I just mean change it up so you don't get bored and your body doesn't get stuck in a rut. We then have a really important part of the process, celebrating and edifying publicly the achievements of our clients. We want to make sure that the other members in the club are aware of what they've achieved. It kind of endorses our approach by saying, look, it works. But more importantly, it lifts that person up. It makes them as an adult feel like that child being celebrated with that trophy at school or at the local sports club. It relives that moment of a pat on the back and you know what, you're better than you ever thought you were. That edification could be as simple as a certificate handed to them in a little small cup of coffee meeting, or it could be a major celebration at your next Christmas party. We believe these steps of getting to know our clients, helping them train right, helping them eat right, proving that it's working, and then mixing it up periodically, all of those things turn them into a loyal, successful, raving fan.
You know, Paul, I'm certain that personalised approach that you've just stepped us through would make all the difference. But what's coming to my mind is I'm thinking that's a lot to take on board. It can feel quite overwhelming for someone that doesn't have that program already. In your experience, is it difficult to deliver? Is it expensive to go through that process?
Well, look, the answer is no, it's not expensive. Interestingly enough, when we do our studies on the cost of delivery for this type of approach, it works out less than the full cost of their first month's membership. Now, that might sound like a fairly significant investment when you've got hundreds of members, but if you've got hundreds of members to stay several months longer, then it's a massive profit opportunity. Not doing it simply means you better get ready to replace those members. So yes, it does take a systematic approach. Yes, it does require a small investment of some of the revenues we attract from our clients initially, but if we're not willing to invest in them, we better get ready to replace them.
Let's talk now about clubs that offer personal training, or perhaps they offer other non-dues based programs. In those examples, how would you actually differ your approach?
Well, significantly, a lot of the things I've already discussed are relevant for any situation. A personal trainer still needs to know their clients. They need to know their goals, and they need to set them up a proper plan. Every personal trainer out there would agree with that. The thing is, they don't always get a chance to do it for the full membership. They only get a relatively small percentage of the clients take that opportunity up. So my first recommendation would be try to make sure that the trainers are involved in getting everybody through an initial onboarding process. But for the clients who invest in a PT, there's a couple of extra things I'd like to recommend. Number one, with personal trainers, the question you've got to ask is, what is the one thing I can bring to my client they can't get themselves? Now, for some people, that is simply the accountability showing up. For others, it's the variety. For others, it's the goal setting. For others, it's the intensity, being pushed at the right intensity. For others, it's avoiding injuries or avoiding hurting a health complication that they might have. Just make sure these personal trainers are very clear for each and every individual client they've got. What is the one thing that the client can't go elsewhere for and get? And then be the world's best at honing in on that, constantly reminding the client that is your number one goal. Not ignoring all the other benefits you offer, but never forgetting that is your singular source of retaining that client. The second thing I recommend is ongoing results checks. Here's a quick one I would say to every personal trainer out there. Do a results check with your clients every single week. Now, I don't mean the same measurements every single week. If I threw it out there and said, okay, what if it was an anthropometric measurement, such as measuring their waist? I would do that once a month. But then a week after that, I might do their body fat measurements. And then a week after that, I might do their blood pressure, resting heart rate, or a 12-minute treadmill test. And maybe a week after that, we do some other type of test very specific to the client's goals. And then on the fifth week, we go back to what we did at the first week, so that every week we're remeasuring something about a month later. And that way the client's always getting good news, always getting feedback, but you're allowing yourself that 30-day window for those results to kick in. Too often we leave people hanging and waiting for the whole story once every 4 or 6 weeks, when we could divide that up into chunks and, again, rotate it week after week. So there's a couple of tips to the people running programs out there. If you're running boot camps, if you're running coaching training courses, again, look for an opportunity to measure something about your participants every week. Maybe the first week of the month we do a push-up test. Maybe the second week of the month it's a chin-up test. Maybe the third week of the month it's a beep test. But every week of the month, that group has an opportunity to test themselves individually and against one another.
Paul, those insights that you've shared with us today have been so valuable. Can you give us a bit of an idea of what we can look forward to in our next and our final episode for this intensive series?
Absolutely. Well, the final session will be measures of success. I want to show all our listeners out there how easy it is to monitor not just reactively what's happened to your retention in the past, but how to get measurements to predict the longevity and likelihood your clients will stay with you in the future. I'll show you a few tips on how to set some measurements up, not just for your fitness team, not just for your finance team, but for every single part of your team in the club.
Well, we look forward to you joining us for that final week, and thank you once again for joining us for week 3. Thank you so much, Paul.
My absolute pleasure, Chantel.
The intensive series wouldn't be possible without the support of our podcast partner, ABC Financial. ABC Financial leads the health and fitness industry in software and payment processing solutions. If you want your business to thrive with the most advanced club management software, comprehensive payment processing, and customer service that is second to none, choose ABC Financial. You can request a demo at www.abcfinancial.com. Also, a reminder that thanks to our foundation partner, Active Management, you can now download a transcription of each show in the intensive series. Just go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, click on the tab at the top of the page called Intensive Series, then scroll down and press the button that says Access the transcription of this interview. It is that easy. Next week is our final week of the Retention Intensive series, where we'll be discussing measures of success. That show will be available to download from iTunes, and you can also find it at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. I'll leave you today with a reminder of what Paul Brown said. He said, do a results check of some sort with your clients every single week so they're constantly receiving feedback from you. I'm Chantal, and you have been listening to the FBP Intensive Series. Thanks for joining me.